During your pregnancy, you had diabetes that was stimulated by the pregnancy. And at the time of discharge, your midwife says, don't take the tablets, it will go away on its own. But does it really go away? And that's what I want to talk to you about in this video. If you've had gestational diabetes in pregnancy, that is diabetes confined to the pregnancy itself, does it actually go away once the baby's born? And what can you do to make sure that it does? And I'm Remi, I'm an obstetrics and gynaecology doctor with over 10 years of experience, and I'm building Her Health Room, a platform for postnatal care to help you recover physically, mentally, and socially after delivery, as well as optimizing for lifelong health, like making sure that as you go into your 30s, your 40s, your 50s and 60s, that you are as healthy as you can be. Because we know that women have a long lifespan, but a short health span. And I want to make sure that we increase our health span and our longevity. So subscribe to this channel. Let me know in the comments what you're battling with, what you're dealing with, and what you would like to hear from me. So gestational diabetes, it's a condition that's quite common in pregnancy, and it's typically diagnosed after 20 weeks of gestation, where you go and have a test. In the UK, we call it the glucose tolerance test. You turn up fasted, so you'd had nothing to eat from the night before. You have a blood test, you drink a really sugary gross drink, and then you have another blood test. And then the values of those two blood tests will tell us if the way that your body manages glucose is impaired during the pregnancy. And if it is, there are a variety of ways in which it can be treated. So if it's sort of entry level, we often will just give dietary advice. So making sure you're cutting back on carbohydrates, increasing your exercise, basically helping your body use its insulin well. The next step would be to go on to anti-diabetic medication. The most common one is metformin, but there are other things that can also be used. And metformin can be used once a day, twice a day, until you get to a maximum dose. And the idea is that you're checking your blood sugars about 4 times a day. I know that some people also use those glucose monitors, and the idea is that you want to meet very specific targets in pregnancy to make sure that the sugars are well controlled. And if the diet doesn't work, the metformin doesn't work, then you could start taking insulin. You might think that that's pretty entry level, easygoing stuff. But the issue with diabetes in pregnancy is that it can affect the pregnancy, as in the baby, and how you go on to deliver. So having the extra sugar in your bloodstream puts the baby at risk of being too big, so being overgrown, and therefore that can affect delivery. It also puts the baby at risk of being really small because the sugars affect how the placenta works, which also means that the baby's at risk of not getting enough or growing well enough. And because we know that there is this risk of the placenta not working well, there is unfortunately an increased risk of stillbirth in diabetes. So oftentimes delivery will be tailored around the type of diabetes you have and what they're concerned about risk to the functioning and the growth of the baby. So that's a whistle-stop tour about gestational diabetes in pregnancy. But what does it mean for following pregnancy? At the time of delivery, if you're on metformin or insulin or even just diet control, the idea is that once the placenta is out and the baby's out, you don't need to do anything anymore. You don't need to take any more medication, everything is done, it's sorted. It should go away on its own by about 6 weeks. And it's on that premise that we call it gestational diabetes. But how do you actually know that it's resolved? So in the UK, you have postnatal care up until 6 weeks, and at 6 weeks point, you're seen by the GP. And the GP should do really a top to toe assessment of you. And they should know that you've had gestational diabetes in pregnancy. And the next things they want to do is say, look, come back at the 12 to 13 week mark so we can do a blood test. And what that blood test will do is look for the past 12 to 13 weeks, how much sugar your red blood cells have been exposed to. And for it to truly be gestational diabetes, so diabetes only confined to pregnancy, that level should then be back to normal. If it's not back to normal, that could then be a sign that you have ongoing diabetes that's more in keeping with type 2 diabetes and will require ongoing treatment in the form of tablets or insulin or diet control. Your sugars were normal at that first blood test. What you should still do is have yearly checks, because what pregnancy has told you is that you are at risk of having diabetes in the future if you don't make any changes. And that's where Her Health Room comes in, to make sure that you're taking stock of signals that the body has given you while it was under stress so that you can prevent those things from coming back. So you can make the necessary lifestyle changes so that you're not then being at risk of diabetes in the future or in subsequent pregnancies. I say this emphatically because I see a number of women who will come in for their following pregnancy, and at that time they have a blood test that looks like, you've probably had untreated type 2 diabetes. And I'd say to them, did you go to your GP at 13 weeks to get your blood checked? No, nobody told me. Did you go every year after that? No, I wasn't told. And this is the reason why I'm here today. We know what best practice and best guidance is. And the idea is that we educate you during the antenatal period. But it's really easy after the baby's born for everything to be about the baby and you as the mum are neglected or put to the wayside. It's also really possible that if you attend your 6-week check and the appointment is all about the baby and unfortunately not about you, again, those things could get missed and left behind. So it's really important that you go in armed with the information about what you can do to control your future health outcomes. And I will be producing a guide of what you need to be doing in the first 6 weeks, as well as a 6-week check reminder with your GP of the things that need to be covered, depending on the type of delivery you've had and the type of pregnancy you've had. So let's circle back. So it's now the 13 weeks after the baby's born, you've had the blood test. The blood test says you're fine, there is no sign that you have ongoing diabetes. And then you have to take it upon yourself to remember to get your blood test done every year. And in that, it will pick up where there is an early risk of you having pre-diabetes. In the meantime, it's also incumbent on you to make the lifestyle changes that I've already suggested. Now, if at that 13 weeks, the blood test is pre-diabetic or diabetic, at that point, treatment needs to be initiated. And treatment could be diet control again, and then a repeat in a few months to see if the diet has made a difference, or it could be medication, and there are a multitude of different types of medication that you can take for diabetes when you're not pregnant, or insulin. And again, I will leave that in the care of my very able GP colleagues to deal with. Just want to make sure that you know. Now, what are the risks of you having ongoing diabetes after having diabetes in pregnancy? The risk is 10%. 1 in 10 people who had it in pregnancy will actually never have their blood sugars return to normal without treatment. And what are the risks that if you've had diabetes in pregnancy that you'll go on to have diabetes lifelong? And the risk of that is really variable. Some places will quote 40%, some places quote 50%, some places even quote up to 70%. It may well be related to other factors, BMI, diet, family history, so genetics as well. So it will be really variable, but there is a really high risk, even if we go with the 40%, there is a really high risk that if you've had diabetes in pregnancy, that you can go on to have it in your future. So that's why it's really important. It's actually one of my bugbears, that women are not being told the potential lifelong risk of having conditions like diabetes, but also high blood pressure, also liver disease, and what that can mean for the future. So what can you do to stay healthy? What you can do is at your check with your GP at 6 weeks, make sure that you're booked in for your blood test at 12 weeks. Outside of recovering and breastfeeding and all these things, take stock of your diet. Are you eating a well-rounded, varied diet of fruit, veg, carbohydrates, protein, exercising as well, walking it off? And even I've got a video on loneliness and how you can reclaim your energy after having a baby. Do you know what works really well? Going out for walks. I've only just incorporated that into my life in the last 6 weeks, and I now look forward to a daily walk. It actually makes a huge difference to your mood, as well as getting your steps in. So that's also really important and something to take on. And finally, keep a diary. Keep track of your own results. If you're in the UK, there's access to the NHS app, and you can use that app and check your levels over time. Otherwise, you can make use of things that I will put a resource down below, such as the FIGO pregnancy passport, which allows you to check not just your blood sugar, but your blood pressure and things like that, and check it over time. And I think it's a really empowering resource for us to have as women and take charge of our health in the postnatal period. So if you have any questions, put them in the comments down below. There will be a link to resources down below, as well as my free postnatal check resource that I will be putting in the comments, hopefully at the time of posting, if not at some later date. And join the community. I want us to really grow and make sure that we are tackling postpartum care like it needs to be.